Tony Ferguson drops insane statement saying he'd beat Khabib and Makhachev in his prime. Conor McGregor and Khabib destroy each other in explosive fight over NFTs that involved Khabib's late father. Shavkat Rakhmonov demolishes Ian Gary with facts that will leave you shocked. Dominic Cruz reveals the secret formula to beat Merab that nobody thought of. Stay until the end. Tony Ferguson never managed to make it to a fight with longtime rival Khabib Nurmagomedov, but he remains confident. He'd have beaten not only Nurmagomedov, but his protege, Islam Makhachev. That's right, El Kukui is dropping bombshell statements that are making the MMA community go absolutely crazy. Nurmagomedov and Makhachev have established themselves as two of the most dominant fighters of all time, with a combined record of 57 wins and just one loss, plus 7 lightweight title defenses. The retired Nurmagomedov recently cornered Makhachev in his UFC 322 welterweight championship triumph over Jack Della Maddalena, showing that the connection between these two is inseparable. During Nurmagomedov's run at the top, he and Ferguson were matched up several times, but a variety of issues caused their in-cage encounters to be canceled, much to the disappointment of fans. It was one of the biggest frustrations in MMA history, with 5 attempts to book this fight being canceled due to injuries, health issues, and other complications. Nurmagomedov retired in 2020, putting the fight permanently to rest and leaving everyone with that what-if feeling. To this day, the 41-year-old Ferguson remains confident he could have solved the puzzle of the undefeated Nurmagomedov, and he also believes he'd give Makhachev a run for his money. And check out the bomb he dropped to Helen Yee Sports. To me, in my opinion, Islam was one of the dudes that always had Khabib in the practice room. At the time, it was kind of like Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili, just feeling like when Aljo left, then Merab finally started to shine and stuff. It's the same thing with Khabib and Islam. I always thought Islam was more of a conditioned athlete and doing his thing, but best of luck. But in my prime, kick your ass. Ferguson gave Makhachev plenty of respect for his recent domination of Della Maddalena, and suggested that perhaps Makhachev was a better fighter than Nurmagomedov all along. He theorizes that it wasn't until Nurmagomedov lost his father and fighting mentor Abdulmanap in 2020, and subsequently retired later that year, that the path was cleared for Makhachev to stake his own claim to greatness. It's a fascinating theory that's dividing fans. I think when Khabib's dad was there, I think Makhachev was in the shadows, not wanting to pass him just because, out of respect when it goes to your teacher and your coaches and certain things like that, Ferguson said with brutal honesty. I think when everything was all said and done and Khabib retired and the family things and so on and so forth, that he finally had his time to shine. I think he's his own athlete. I don't think he really concerned himself about Khabib other than what he's doing. I think at the end of the day, we're all athletes when it comes down to it. We're trying to pass it and pay it forward to the next generation of athletes. But then, Ferguson dropped the boldest statement of all that will make you fall off your chair. But I tell you what, 1 or 2 years at Tony Ferguson's camp and the academy, and you'll be better than Dagestan wrestlers any day. This claim is causing an earthquake in the MMA community, with Dagestani fans furious and Ferguson supporters celebrating. While it's unclear if El Kukui ever plans to compete under MMA rules again, he admitted, he's intrigued by the possibility of competing at the planned UFC White House card against either Nurmagomedov or Conor McGregor. And his words about it are pure dopamine. I'm going to be real, there's only 2 people that I want to go and fight, regardless of where it's going to be at. And the interesting fights would be either Conor or Khabib. I think regardless of what happens, it's going to sell tickets, good or bad. Literally, that's what it's for. The hype, and then he closed with a proposal that would make the internet stop But you put me up there with Khabib at the White House, and I guarantee you guys are going to have fireworks. You have Khabib Tony round 6. Make it happen. The possibility of finally seeing this legendary fight, even if both are past their prime, is leaving fans going crazy. Ferguson hasn't lost any of his characteristic confidence and is ready to prove he was always the nightmare that Khabib avoided. Will we see this historic matchup finally happen at the White House? The anticipation is exploding. Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov have words again, and this time things got extremely heavy and crossed all the limits. Nurmagomedov recently announced an auction for a new NFT called Papakas on social media platform Telegram. On Wednesday, the retired former UFC lightweight champion revealed that the digital currency had completely sold out. And that's when the bomb exploded. That brought out a tweet from McGregor, who was Nurmagomedov's biggest career rival in the fight game and appears to still be in that role to this day. And check out the destruction McGregor started. There is just no way good guy Khabib used his late father's name, as well as Dagestan's culture, to scam his fans and fire sell a bunch of digital NFTs online and then delete all of the content after they were sold, leaving his fans robbed of their money. There is just no way good guy do this. That's right, McGregor went straight for the most sensitive point possible, accusing Khabib of using his late father Abdulmanap's name for financial scams. The MMA community froze seeing this accusation because invoking Khabib's deceased father is crossing a red line that few would dare cross. Nurmagomedov then responded to McGregor's post, saying that McGregor will do anything in an attempt to soil his name, while also tweeting out a commercial of sorts for the platform and NFT. And Khabib's response was loaded with emotion. "You absolute liar. You will always try to darken my name after you got destroyed that night, but you will never achieve that." Yes, good guys don't do that. They don't create exclusive digital gifts with real-time value that you can share with your friends and family. Gifts in the shape of papaka, hat that symbolize traditions and culture of Dagestan people. And Khabib continued, defending his project with passion. Traditions and culture that's slowly walking over this world whether you like it or not. Gifts that you can find exclusively on Telegram, greatest messaging platform on the world. You can feel Khabib's frustration in every word of this response, trying to justify his project while being attacked by his biggest rival. Of course, McGregor wasn't going to let it go without getting the last word, and what he said next was absolutely brutal and crossed all lines. Get your heart ready, because this response is chilling. Apologize this instant for using your late father's name to sell these gifts that cost your fans so much of their money. Also, to sell something means it is not a gift, you low IQ troglodyte. That is the direct opposite of what gift means. Dumbass, ha 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 ha. Scamming on your dead daddy's name. Shame. This final sentence from McGregor caused a tsunami of reactions in the MMA community. Invoking Khabib's late father and accusing him of using Abdulmanap's memory for scams is one of the most controversial things McGregor has ever said, and that's saying a lot considering his track record. Fans are divided to the extreme. Some think McGregor crossed an unacceptable line by talking about Khabib's deceased father this way, while others argue that if Khabib is really using his father's name to sell questionable NFTs, then he deserves to be called out. The situation is boiling on social media with intense debates about who's right. Is Khabib really using his father's memory for profit? Or is McGregor just desperate to tarnish his old rival's reputation? Were the NFTs really deleted after the sale, as McGregor claimed? These questions are dominating conversations in the MMA world. One thing is certain. The rivalry between these two will never die, and each interaction continues to be more explosive than the last. The scar left by that night at UFC 229, when Khabib dominated McGregor and then jumped the cage to attack his team, continues, bleeding to this day. Will these two ever make peace? From the looks of it, the answer is a resounding no. In the meantime, Gary has scored dominant victories over Carlos Prates and former champion Belal Muhammad that have seen him bypass Rakhmonov in the rankings. Now there is a logjam atop the welterweight division as to who gets the first shot at Islam Makhachev, and the beef is getting hotter and hotter. As a non-English speaker, it is generally rare to see Shavkat Rakhmonov engaging in trash talk with his fellow divisional contenders. However, that didn't stop him taking to X and making his case for why he, not Ian Machado Gary, deserves the next title shot at 170 livres, and what he said will leave you shocked with the surgical precision of the facts. No trash talk, just facts, Rakhmonov wrote in suspiciously perfect English that made many people question if he wrote it alone. Ian Gary lost to me while I was injured. He hasn't finished anyone in his last 6 fights, and Prates nearly stopped him. Doesn't sound like a #1 contender to me. This statement is devastating and is causing havoc on social media. Gary has yet to respond, but he has spent the past few days since his UFC Qatar victory telling anyone who will listen about why he should be the division's top contender. And the official rankings now reflect that, as he sits at #2 behind only former champion Jack Della Maddalena, who just lost his belt. But the facts Rakhmonov presented are impossible to ignore. Rakhmonov has been out of commission since that Gary fight, which he claims is due to injuries he brought into the cage. However, that is questionable, given the Irishman's love for oblique kicks, which are known to cause knee issues. This is exactly the technique that many experts blame for Rakhmonov's serious injury that kept him sidelined for almost a year. There had been speculation that he would return in January, but now the Kazakh star claims it could be February or March. By the time he is back in the octagon, that would mark as many as 14 months out of action, an absurdly long time that could cost him his position as #1 contender. And that's exactly what Gary is using as ammunition against him. The big question dividing the MMA community is, who really deserves the title shot? On Rakhmonov's side, he has a win over Gary even if it was a very close decision. He was also undefeated before that fight and had dominated all his opponents brutally. On Gary's side, he's active, just beat the former champion dominantly and is ready to fight now, while Rakhmonov has been sidelined for almost a year. Fans are exploding with divided opinions. Some argue that a win is a win, and Rakhmonov won when they faced each other, so he should be ahead. Others say the sport moves fast, and you can't sit out for a year waiting for a title shot, while other fighters are busy proving their worth. Gary has been relentless in his campaign to get the Makhachev fight, appearing on every MMA podcast, and show to make his case. But now, Rakhmonov has finally reacted and presented concrete facts that are hard to contest. It's true that Gary hasn't finished anyone in his last 6 fights, relying mostly on decisions. It's true that Prates had him in big trouble in that fight before Gary recovered. And it's definitely true that Gary lost to Rakhmonov even if Rakhmonov was injured. The situation is creating one of the most interesting controversies in the welterweight division in years. The UFC has a difficult decision ahead: reward Gary's activity or respect Rakhmonov's victory. Makhachev is watching all this unfold and probably loving all this attention. Whoever he faces, it will be a massive fight, but the question remains, will it be the man who's active now or the man who beat him before? Time will tell, but one thing is certain. This rivalry is far from over, and when these two eventually meet again, it will be absolutely epic. Merab Dvalishvili has proven himself to be a nightmare matchup for other fighters in the bantamweight division, and now an expert has revealed the secret formula to beat him that nobody had thought of before. Joe Rogan highlighted Dvalishvili's win over Henry Cejudo as a moment that showed just how impressive and unstoppable the Georgian champion truly is. The man is a takedown machine that simply doesn't stop. It's no secret that his key to victory against Peter Yan the first time around, as it is against all of his opponents, was his relentless takedowns, attempting a staggering 49 of them in total. That's right, 49 takedown attempts in a single fight. It's an absurd number that shows the level of conditioning and determination Dvalishvili possesses. Former UFC bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz believes that Yan could pull off an upset in their rematch if he's able to significantly reduce this number. And Cruz's analysis is brilliant in its simplicity. While the Dominator said during an appearance on The Bonfire that the challenger was taken down 50 times in his loss to Dvalishvili, he was seemingly referring to attempts. Check out the bomb Cruz dropped. Just get taken down 10 times instead of 50 and you'll probably win. Think about that for a second. It's really that simple. Cut 40 takedowns off? Is that possible for Peter Yan? I think it's very possible. This surgical analysis is making fans completely rethink how they view the fight. The UFC legend went on to speak about how the challenger was susceptible to constant takedown attempts because he fights on a straight line, urging him to use more side-to-side movement in their upcoming rematch. It's a technical observation that could completely change the outcome of the fight. This is what Dvalishvili does, so if you're Peter Yan, what do you got to do? Cruz continued with impeccable logic. Well, if I just get it to 10 takedowns instead of 50, I already gave myself a 40% better chance. Merab Dvalishvili has proven time and time again that discouraging him from shooting for takedowns is seemingly impossible. He doesn't change his bulldozer-like approach opponent regardless of who is he facing, and that hasn't led to his remarkable 14-fight win streak ending. The man is relentless and seems to have an infinite engine that never shuts off. While many believe that Dvalishvili has already proven himself to be the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominick Cruz, who is also in the conversation, still has an edge over the machine in one specific area. And Cruz wasn't shy about pointing it out. I don't think it's really for me to talk about because I'm in the debate, so it's hard. I'll just say that I think it's up to the fans, and he's beating a record, so I'll give him that. But I think I have 6 total title defenses. That would mean he'd need another 3. And let me tell you how hard it is to win 3 titles. I think that matters. This statement from Cruz adds a fascinating layer to the debate about who's the greatest bantamweight of all time. Win streaks are impressive, but title defenses are the real test of greatness in the UFC. Dvalishvili is on track to potentially surpass Cruz, but he needs 3 successful defenses to match the Dominator's legacy. And as Cruz correctly pointed out, getting 3 title defenses is exponentially harder than maintaining a win streak. The rematch between Dvalishvili and Yan now has a completely new narrative with Cruz's analysis. If Yan can implement the strategy of drastically reducing the number of takedowns he allows, he could shock the world and reclaim his position atop the division. But is it really that simple? Dvalishvili is known for his adaptability and infinite cardio. Even if Yan manages to defend 40 more takedowns than in the first fight, Dvalishvili will simply continue pressing without stopping until Yan breaks. The big question is, does Peter Yan have the lateral movement and footwork necessary to frustrate Dvalishvili's relentless attack? Or will the champion's constant pressure eventually break any defensive strategy? Fans are anxious to find out if Cruz's formula will work in practice. One thing is certain, this rematch is going to be absolutely epic and could completely redefine the legacy of both fighters. Dvalishvili wants to cement his greatness with another defense, while Yan wants to prove he can solve the puzzle. That beat him before. Get ready because there's gonna be war!